Can you imagine how you would feel this evening if I said that you can change the world? Would that seem a little bit cliche, maybe trite, dare I say even patronizing? And yet, I legitimately believe that you can change the world. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guest, and contest chair, you can change the world. Can you imagine that? I believe that because, as Desmond Tutu once said, do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good that overwhelm the world. I personally have come to believe that it is not often a single monumental act that changes the world, but rather seemingly ordinary people doing simple things that positively impact the lives of those around them and create a ripple effect that changes the world. But you may be sitting here this evening thinking, John, that sounds great, but I've read the books, I've gone to the seminars, I've listened to the speeches, and they're all, you can change the world, right? But you don't know what's in my backstory. You don't know what I'm facing today. You don't know what I'm going home to tonight. And quite frankly, changing the world is not on my bingo card for 2025. And if that's how you feel here this evening, I honor that, I respect that, and I would also like to challenge that with a story. I want to share a story with you about a young man who at 19 did what he called made the stupidest decision of his life. How many of you made a stupid decision at 19? All right, we got half the room that made stupid decisions and half the room that are still liars. Good to know. At 19 years old, he made the stupidest decision of his life when he chose to go with 3 of his friends who had the dumb idea to light a fire. And his best friend, who struck the match, died in that fire. Obviously, lighting a fire is a serious criminal offense, and when somebody dies, it gets a whole lot worse. Can you imagine? 19 years old, a stupid decision, and the judge's gavel comes down and says, I'm sentencing you to 14 years in the Department of Corrections. Oh, how this young man wished he could take it back. Oh, how he wished he could undo what had been done, but he could not. All he could do was make a choice in that moment to do his little bit of good where he was, which was now prison. And he decided that he was going to do everything in his power over the course of his sentence to make that place a better place when he left than when he arrived. And he did his best. Every day he got up, and first he started working on himself, trying to fix those character flaws that put him in that position. How many of you are on a personal growth journey right now? Good, I'm so glad to see that. That young man went through that, and as he grew himself, he found that he had opportunity to step into other people's lives and grow with them. Can you imagine it? A terrible decision, you're in prison, but you're still trying to do the best you can, and now all of a sudden people want you to help them. In fact, by the time he got out of prison, 12 years later, with some parole still to do, he had created 27 different rehabilitation programs, and over 10,000 inmates had gone through those programs, doing his little bit of good where he was. But can you imagine it? You were 19, you made a terrible decision, you spent over a decade behind bars, and now you're stepping out into the free world for the first time with the title Felon. It was difficult. He thought, I've come so far, why would I stop now? So he decided to do his little bit of good, and all that curricula that he had developed back when he was incarcerated, he presented that to a company, and they said, well, maybe you can make some training for us. He said, okay, I'll try. He did his little bit of good. Eventually they said, how about you be our training manager? He said, I'll try. And he did his little bit of good. And eventually they actually asked him to be director of revenue. Can you imagine Felon director of revenue? Doesn't really fit, does it? Now, you might still be sitting here tonight and you might be like, John, what does that have to do with me? I've never been to prison, and frankly, that guy's probably back. Don't you know the statistics on how many people go back no matter how good it looks like they're doing? But I think if that young man were here tonight, he might look at us in the eye and say, well, if I can make the stupidest decision of my life when I'm a teenager, what is it that's stopping you from doing your little bit of good? If I can go through 10 years of prison, more than 10 years, what's standing in your way? He might say, if I can walk out with a label felon, what labels are you letting hold you back? In fact, I know that if that young man were here today, he would say those things. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that young man's name is Jon A. I am the man that made the worst decision of my life at 19 years old. I am the man that lost my best friend in the fire. And I am the man that walked through over a decade in prison and still have some people that would label me felon. This evening, in case you don't believe me, I brought with me a large poster board of my release ID with those big red emblazoned letters, released offender. Ladies and gentlemen, you can change the world. If I can make the worst decision of my life, if I can walk through over a decade in prison, if I can walk out with the label of felon, if I can stand here on this stage tonight still trying to do my little bit of good in the world, you can too. Can you imagine what it would be like if you stepped up and said, I can change the world? Contest.